Happy Tuesday. So, just like I did yesterday, I'm going to go over quickly what your assignments are for today so that you can make sure you're on the right track and not missing anything. So today in math, you're already watching the mini lesson video, so you're good to go. And then your assignments that you're going to work on today is numerical patterns and sorts. And so after we take a few quick review notes, I'm going to show you exactly what your numerical pattern sort will look like, and we'll go from there. Okay? Alright, so I went ahead and already drawn out my X and Y input-output tables and my coordinate grid. Okay, if you have a piece of notebook paper next to you, you can totally take notes with us, or you can just rewatch this part of the video, up to you. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about how there's two different kinds of patterns we can use on our input-output table. We talked about the first one is an additive pattern. And remember, we talked about an additive pattern just means that you are adding. Okay. And then we talked about you can also use a multiplicative pattern, which is just a fancy word for multiplying. Oh, not adding. Multiplying. Sorry. See, even I messed up. Okay, so I'm going to fill out my X and Y coordinate input-output tables right here. So what I want you to do is pause this part of the video and see if you can figure out what the pattern is after I filled it out. Okay, so pause this part of the video and see if you can figure out what your role is going to be for this pattern, or this input-output table. Okay, so hopefully you have figured out the pattern. Now remember, when you look across, you're looking from your X to your Y, and you're trying to determine what your pattern is. Remember, your pattern has to be the same all the way through. If it's adding, it all has to add to the same, okay? So when I look, I notice that it is adding 3 every time. So my rule, or my pattern, is an additive pattern of plus 3. Okay? So we talked about yesterday that now that we are getting older, we're going to use our pattern to make an equation. So remember, our y is always our answer, so that letter always goes first. So we say y equals, and then we're going to put an x, because whatever number I have here in my x column, I could put it where the x is in this equation, and I should get the value of y. So I'm going to say x, and what is my pattern? Plus 3, so I'm going to say x plus 3. So if I was talking about this coordinate right here, I could put 2 where my x is, and then say plus 3, and I should get 5. Okay? Now remember, we talked about that each of these x and y's can also be used to make ordered pairs. So I'm going to quickly write out my ordered pairs, just taking the numbers I have here. And I'm just going to go ahead and label them, again, A, B, C, D, because it's easiest that way. But if you want, you can change your letters. Does not matter to me. Alright, so when we start plotting these on our coordinate grid, remember, this is always your x. You're always going across the x-axis for your first value, and then you're always going up the y-axis. Okay? Alright, so my first one is 1, 4. So I'm going to go across 1 and up 4. And again, remember, if it's not perfect, it's okay, because we don't really have graph paper to be exact, so it's fine. Alright, looking at B, I have 2, 5. So I'm going to start at my origin, go across to 2, and up to 5. And then I'm just going to put letter B. Doing the same thing with my next coordinate, 3, 6. I'm going to start at my origin, go across to 3, stop, and go up to 6. And again, remember, it's not going to be perfect because my letter's kind of in the way, but it's okay. And then my final ordered pair is 4, 3. So I'm going to start at my origin, go across 4. Not 3, 4, 7. Ha, sorry, y'all. Don't you miss me making these mistakes in class? Somebody would have caught that by now, though. So 4, 7. So across 4 and up 7. Okay, man, Dondo, I miss y'all saying Miss McAdams. Miss McAdams, that's not right. Okay. All right, let's do our next one down here. Okay, same thing. After I fill out my X and Y chart, I want you to pause the video and see if you can figure out the pattern. And this time I'm going to double check my math just to make sure I don't make any more silly mistakes. Hope that gave you a good laugh. Okay, so hopefully you have figured out the pattern by now. Now remember, we're going from our X to our Y and we're trying to notice what pattern did they all have in common. So right here I noticed that this is 2. So we know that anything times 1 is going to be that number. So that means this pattern has to be times 2 because only 2 times 1 is going to get you 2. So that means 2 times 2 is going to get you 4. 3 times 2 is going to get you 6. And 4 times 2 is going to get you 8. Okay? So our rule is a multiplicative pattern. Okay? Now remember, we talked about yesterday, you can write this 2 different ways for an equation. Okay? Remember, y is always going to be your answer. So we could say x, which is our coordinates here, times 2. Or remember we talked about you can do 2x, which is the same as saying x times 2. So for example, if I used this y equals 2x, if I was trying to find this answer, okay, where my x is, I would put a 3. And then basically all that's saying is 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay? So now we're going to make our ordered pairs for our coordinate grid. And this time I'm double checking my answers. Okay? Alright, so remember you always start with the x-axis. And the x-axis is always this first coordinate. And then your y-axis is always the second number. Alright, so starting here. Started from 0, I went to my origin to 1, up to 2. Put a dot, and this time we're just going to pick random letters. Okay, I picked T, R, S, P. So this first one is going to be a T. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. Go across 2, up 4. It's going to be R. Start at my origin for the next one. Go across 3 and up 6. It's going to be S. And then 4, 8. So I'm going to go to 4, up to 8. Okay. So just like we did yesterday, just a little review. Okay, so right now I'm going to show y'all the assignment for today so that you kind of know what to do. Okay, so what you're doing here is you're identifying the rule for each pattern. You're going to drag the rule to the corresponding pattern. So you do not have to you don't have to write anything down because obviously we don't have our math journals, those are at schools. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at number 3. Okay? So it has 7, 14, 28, 56. So I know that 7 times 2 is going to get me 14. And I also know that if I did 14 times 2, I'm going to get 28. Okay, so this pattern right here is times 2. So you're just going to put that right there. Now, these also have division and subtraction. Now, remember, we don't have fancy words for those, but you're just looking to see if the number is getting bigger as you're going, you're probably adding or multiplying, right? If you notice here on number 4, it looks like your number is getting smaller. That means you're either subtracting or dividing, okay? All right, so what you're going to do here on the third slide, question number 7, is you're going to drag each set of ordered pairs to the correct table. So remember, you're just looking at these right here. That's going to be your ordered pair, okay? So I noticed that this one says 9, 2, 8, 5, 7, 8, 11, 6, and 11. So that would go right here. Okay, and if you need to, you can totally zoom in to see them a little better. Okay, and then the last one is you're doing just like you did yesterday with your practice. You're using this rule to fill in your X and Y graph, and then you're making your ordered pairs. And then obviously you're going to do just like we did on our notes and plot them, okay? If you need any help, I will be on Zoom. You can pop in, show me your screen, and we can work from there. If you just want to send me a private comment on Google Classroom, you can also do that, or you can dojo me, okay? All right, happy Tuesday.